Prime Video, YouTube TV, Netflix, Pluto TV. We asked you, our fellow cord cutters and streamers, to sound off on your favorite services, how much you spend on streaming, and more. And it's time to start sharing those results. More than 1,000 of you out there weighed in for the Cord Cutters News Summer Survey 2021, and in this video, part 1 of 2, we're going to highlight your top choices for on-demand streaming service, free services, and a lot more. And plus, if you're curious how much your peers in the cord cutting community spend on average for their streaming services, stay tuned. This is the Cord Cutters News Summer Survey 2021, Part 1. But first, what is the Cord Cutters News Summer Survey? All right, and joining us, of course, is Jess. So welcome, Jess.
Hi, thanks for being on having me back.
Yeah, so before we dive into the actual questions and the results from the summer survey, I was wondering if you could spend a few moments just to kind of briefly describe what the purpose of the survey is and what the history is.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was our 2021 summer survey. And for those of you who have been around for a while, you have probably seen these surveys pop up every once in a while. We try to do them, I want to say quarterly, sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then we usually end the year doing our big Cordy Awards, which is just like the supersized survey for the winter. So we do these every once in a while just to sort of see where everybody's at. We like to chat with our readers and find out what services you guys are using. We like to find out what free services you're using, my favorite part always. And just how much money you're spending on your streaming services, what new devices you're using. So this is just a good chance for us to kind of pick your brains and find out what you're up to in the world of cord cutting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps us on the video side at least kind of plan ahead for what kind of services we should be focusing on, what kind of services and technologies and whatnot that our readers and viewers are most interested in and want to see more coverage on. So this helps us a ton. So yeah, let's dive right into this. And like I said at the top of this video, we're going to split this up into 2 videos. So part 1 is today, and then next week we'll dive into part 2. But to kick off part 1, we're going to start with the question number 1 actually. How many streaming services do you subscribe to? And we had a number of choices, and on your screen now are the top results. And the most popular choice was 3 to 4 services. That garnered about 35% of the vote, followed by 7 plus. That's a lot of services. 21.9% of you said you had 7 or more services that you're subscribed to. 1 to 2 came in third place at 20.6%, and 5 to 6 at 19.1%. And 0 made a showing with 3.3%. And I don't know about you, Jess, but I think last I checked, I probably fall somewhere in the 5 to 6 category. I don't know about you.
Ooh, hard to say. How many am I actively using? I would say probably 5 to 6. How many am I still subscribed to? Probably 7 or more. And I also feel like this is the time to remind everybody, if you've signed up for a service and put it on auto pay, go back and check your bank statements right now. Pause the video, check your bank statements, and cancel any subscriptions that you are not currently using.
Yeah, we'll wait. You can go check right now. And yeah, definitely. And if you've signed up for like super long deals, like month-long or 6-month trials, and you've just kind of forgotten about them, I would check your statements real quick just to make sure you're still on a free deal, or maybe you've been rolled into a paying subscription afterwards. So keep an eye on those.
Definitely. What do you think about those people who said they subscribe to 0 services?
That's interesting. I wonder if that's the folks that are doing or relying more on like free services and maybe not considering those as a paid subscription. But that's fascinating to me, yeah.
Yeah, and those people that are using an antenna to get local channels, and some of you lucky people who get 30 plus channels with your antenna, some people just might not have a reason for any subscriptions.
Yeah, we lucked out with our, like we've talked about before, we've lucked out with our access to over the air here just south of Seattle. But I will say that while we were watching the Olympics over the air, our connection cut out for a few minutes, and I thought to myself, so this is what Jess deals with, so.
It's true, me and my 12 channels. I will say though, Lowcast has really been coming through for me.
Nice.
So the next question we asked was, how much do you pay per month for streaming subscriptions in total? And this one was kind of interesting to me too. We gave you a range of prices to choose from, and 37.7% said that they spend $51 to $99 a month on streaming services. And then 19% said $11 to $30, 18.2% said $31 to $50. 14.2% said over $100 a month. And then 8.4% said $0 to $10. 2.6% of people preferred not to answer the question, which is also fine. But I'm nosy, so I love seeing how much money people are spending on their streaming services. So lots of people in that $51 to $99 range, which subscribing to one of those live TV services will definitely put you right in that category.
Yeah, getting one of those, the YouTube TVs or the Hulu with Lives of the world, and then just tacking on like one or more on-demand service, that'll get you right into that category real quick. I don't know about you, but I think I probably fall within the 31 to 50 category if I'm doing my math correctly or if I'm checking my statements correctly.
I will say it's a little easier for us because we have been gifted a couple of subscriptions to services to try out. So that definitely cuts down on my monthly balance a little bit. But I
Yeah.
would say I'm probably in that $31 to $50 range.
Yeah, strictly for personal use, I fall into that category. And I don't know about you as well, but when we officially cut our cable, we were on the lowest tier cable bill anyways, because we were already trying to save money, and that was probably on its own about $85 to $95 a month just for cable. So we're still saving money, but it's interesting to see how much people are paying for their streaming services now.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like I said, I'm very nosy. So if anyone wants to let us know how much money you're saving since cutting the cord, always my favorite question to ask people. I ask in the Q&A every week. But if anyone wants to let us know how much money you're saving, leave it down in the comments for us.
Yeah, and it's fun to compare notes just to see how others are cutting the cord and how they're compensating, I guess, for traditional cable services. And it's fun to kind of compare and see if you're doing it right, so to speak, if you're saving enough money, or if there are other ways to maximize your savings.
Yeah, definitely. So let us know. We're curious.
Yeah. And then on to the next question. And speaking of live TV services, this question deals with which live TV streaming services do you currently subscribe to? And funnily enough, the top choice was I don't subscribe to anyone. That was interesting, but the top choice among the actual services was YouTube TV at 23.9%, followed by ESPN Plus at 13.6%, and then Lowcast, which we've talked about a lot, and then Sling TV, and then at the sixth place is Philo. All right, and so yeah, that was fascinating to see how much, almost a third of folks, almost 30% of folks saying I don't subscribe to any live TV, and I wonder how much of that is just folks that are, like you've mentioned, okay with just over-the-air antennas and don't need a reliance on live TV streaming services to get the channels they want.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I wasn't super surprised to see that as the top answer, just because I feel like we've been seeing that trend more and more with people subscribing to on-demand services, people using antennas and services like Lowcast to get their local channels. I feel like people just don't have a need to watch shows in real time anymore. So interesting to see that trend kind of playing out in our survey responses here.
Yeah, I definitely followed that model when we officially cut the cord, where we still rely on over-the-air antennas for our live broadcasts, like sporting events like Seahawks games, and then the on-demand stuff is there for everything else that we get around to watching when our schedule fits. So, live TV streaming services, if you don't subscribe to them, you're not alone, because 30%, almost 30% of our respondents feel the same way.
Yeah, something that was interesting to me looking at this list is that Hulu with live TV was not on the list. And I feel like that's typically a very popular one with our crowd, usually right after YouTube TV. So that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, ESPN Plus. I don't know about you, but that kind of surprised me as far as how highly it placed along on this list. I wonder how much of that has to do with Disney incentivizing it through the Disney bundle. But yeah, apparently a lot of folks want their live sports.
Yeah, agreed. I will say ESPN Plus has really been stepping it up lately with adding some new sports, really getting more into soccer. We're going to see more from them with the next MLB season. So I feel like they are kind of the dark horse over here, just sort of creeping up among our readers, particularly, but cord cutters in general, too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they stack up a year from now, just to see that growth that you just mentioned.
Agreed. All right, so let's go from live services to on-demand services. The next question we asked was, which on-demand streaming services do you currently subscribe to? And we had a lot of options in this category. We all know at this point that the market is getting a little saturated with these on-demand services. So we'll just quickly run through some of the top answers. 72.2% of people who took our survey subscribed to Amazon Prime Video. And this was a multiple choice one, so obviously that wasn't the only thing that most people picked. But 61.6% said that they subscribed to Netflix. 51% said that they subscribed to Hulu, so there's our Hulu. 44.6% subscribed to Disney Plus, 36.7% to HBO Max. And then kind of some honorable mentions: Peacock, Paramount TV, Apple TV Plus, and Discovery Plus all made the list, but did not make it into the top 5.
So many streaming services with plus
So
in
many.
their name now.
But yeah, the rankings here aren't terribly surprising. I wonder how many folks are signed up to Prime Video through they're signed up for Amazon Prime, and that comes with Prime Video, so they're automatically subscribed to. But I wonder about like some of the relative newcomers like Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Peacock. They're creeping up there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I was not surprised to see Prime Video in the top spot because, like you said, so many benefits to a Prime subscription, 2-day shipping, and Amazon Music, so much good stuff. So not surprising to see so many people using that. And to be honest, I wasn't surprised by any of the top 5. Obviously, Netflix and Hulu are super popular. And then I would say Disney Plus and HBO Max have been kind of the most talked about of the newer streaming services. So I wasn't surprised to see those in the top 5 either.
And like you mentioned with the honorable mentions, we have like Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, and Discovery Plus. It's interesting because, Apple TV or Apple has been kind of withholding their true like subscriber numbers for their paid TV or paid streaming service. So it's interesting to see how our readers or our viewers at least, how they stack up as far as like popularity among our viewers and readers.
Yeah, absolutely. I was almost surprised to see 21.9% of our readers say that they subscribe to Apple TV Plus. Again, that's just not a service that's as widely talked about among our readers, at least from what I've seen. So kind of surprising, but Apple TV Plus, I don't know, has some pretty good content over there. So I feel like once they hook you, you're in.
And then our last question for part 1 goes back to free streaming services. And I know you're a big fan, as well as I, of free streaming services. So this question is, which free streaming services do you use? And again, like some of the other questions, this is something you could have more than one choice for. But at the top of our list, with 65.6% of the vote, was YouTube, the regular YouTube, not the YouTube TV. And then in second place was Pluto TV with 63.3%. And then the Roku channel made a showing at third place with 55.4%. Tubi came in fourth place with 43.4%, and then we have, like you've said before, a list of honorable mentions like IMDb TV, Crackle, Plex, and Zumo. So any of those strike you as surprising?
Not at all. I would say this was a category I was very excited about and not at all surprised by. I feel like YouTube is kind of a given, which if you're watching this on YouTube right now, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Exactly.
Pluto TV has always been a favorite among Cord Cutters news readers, and for good reason. Pluto TV is just constantly adding new channels, new content, tons of classic TV added lately. They're doing their summer movie marathon, so much good stuff over on Pluto. And then the Roku channel too, just consistently adding more great content. They've got all those Quibi shows now, which people are finally showing an interest in now that they are not on Quibi on your phone, but you can watch them on the Roku channel on your TV. So not surprised by the top 3. And then Tubi, IMDb TV, Crackle, Plex, Zumo, all great options for free content. And like I always say, my very favorite thing is that you might as well try them all because you have nothing to lose here.
Yeah, like we've mentioned, these are free, so it's a great time to like check out what's available for free on these different services. Maybe you haven't checked them out in a while, or maybe you've never heard of some of these services. So this is a good chance to go out there and kind of like broaden your free streaming horizons. And I'm with you as well. YouTube is so almost ubiquitous that you kind of almost forget that it counts in this category as free streaming services. And Pluto TV as well has been a long-running popular choice. And the Roku channel, like you mentioned, is a, it's coming on strong with, Roku's recent aggressive campaign to get more Roku originals on their channel. So it's been interesting to see that channel grow. And one of those honorable mentions that struck me as interesting was Plex, a relative newcomer to free streaming, and they seem to be doing well for themselves, at least among our viewers.
Yeah, definitely. So lots of great options here. And I would say my biggest takeaway from the survey this time around is that people are really choosing these on-demand free services, antennas, other sources of free content over these live TV streaming services. So really interested to see how that progresses throughout this year and going forward.
Yeah, we had, let's see, 8 strong showings from different free streaming services. So it seems like a lot of our viewers are taking advantage of those free streaming services and also taking advantage of more than one, because why not? They're free.
Absolutely.
And like we said at the top of this video, we will be back next week with part 2 of our summer survey, where we'll cover more of the questions and your responses, including the types of content you want to watch and why you chose to cut the cord in the first place. So be on the lookout for that next Thursday. And for now, Jess, do you have anything else you'd like to add for Summer Survey 2021 Part 1?
I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who took the survey. We got off to a little bit of a rocky start with it this time around, so lesson learned for next time. But we will have another one coming out in the fall, and then looking forward to our Cordy Awards at the end of the year this year.
Yeah, we'll boost that signal when it's time for the Cordy Awards. And again, thank you so much for responding. We had over 1,000 respondents take part in the Summer Survey 2021, and come Cordy time, we hope to grow that number even more. For now, though, thanks Jess for joining us on this video.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was super fun.
And we'll see you again next week. Wrapping it all up. So there you have it, the first half of our results for the Cord Cutters News Summer Survey 2021. And as always, a huge shout out to Jess for joining me for this week's video. Before we go, of course, don't forget to click those like and subscribe buttons down below if you haven't done so already. They really do help out our channel a ton. And feel free to swing by the comment section as well, especially if you want to share your thoughts on the top picks as voted on by your fellow cord cutters and streamers. And as we mentioned at the top of this video, this is just part 1 of 2 videos we're dedicating to the Summer Survey. So tune in next week when we'll go over the most popular streaming hardware, your top reasons for cutting the cord, and more. For now, though, my name is Philip Palermo. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.